Hello, I'm Blue, how do you do? And welcome to my channel Blue Reviews. So today I'm going to be talking about Cytonic, which is the third book in the Skyward series by Brandon Sanderson. I'm going to give you a quick spoiler-free review, then I'm going to jump into a spoiler-filled discussion reading vloggy thing. So, given this is the third book in the series, it technically may be the fifth if you count the novellas. There is not a lot I can say that's completely spoiler-free. But what I can say is this book continues to follow Spencer and Embot as our main characters, very similar to Starsight. Our universe is again expanded. There is a lot more world building and we meet a whole new cast of characters again, which is interesting, but I like the first lot and then I also like the second lot, and I would have preferred more development with them rather than another brand new lot. Unfortunately, this is by far my least favourite in the entire series, including the novellas, which I did love, and are in my opinion, 100% required reading. Now that I've read Cytonic, I can tell you, you don't necessarily have to read them before Cytonic. I think if you are missing the Skyward crew, try and read them beforehand because that will scratch that itch, but you can read them afterwards. Anyway, back to it. Still without spoilers, I really love Spencer and Embot, so that wasn't the reason I didn't like this. I know a lot of people had problems with Starsight because they missed the Skyward crew. I didn't like this because I didn't love the plot. It just didn't intrigue me. We had our two novellas released, which I really did love. And I love Sunreach because we got to spend a lot of time with our characters. And it was really funny. There was great character development. And then I really love Redawn. And the reason I loved that was because we still had our characters. It was still quite funny and it was fast moving. The plot was intriguing. We were looking at the political plot with the superiority, whereas Cytonic is focused on, again, kind of a plot, but it's plot centered around the mystery and the world building about the Delvers and the Nowhere, which I'm not so interested in. And that's probably more a me issue than a book issue. The stakes in this book are so much lower than any other book in this series, including the novellas. So that was just a little bit weird. There's also a very central main character, which I just didn't like. But there were also some really good things about the book. I mean, I love this series. I've loved every book other than this one. So I'm still really super keen to read the next one. This is a good setup book. I'm ready for the final book and also the third novella, which is coming up in about a month. The one thing I'm really confused about, and let me know if you feel the same, is I really feel like these two novellas and this book could have been meshed together into a big, thick tome, which would have been amazing. We would have had the character development, we would have had the political plot, and we also would have had the world building, and they would have all interweaved perfectly in the timeline to create a really amazing, well-rounded book, which would have had something for everyone. If that had been the case, I would have given it easily a 4 or 5-star rating. However, it's not the case, so I've got quite a low star rating for Cytonic, 2.5 stars. Anyway, that's all I'm going to say spoiler-free. I'm going to jump into my spoilery thoughts and discussions as I read through the novel. Okay, so I'm up to chapter 8 in Cytonic. I'm enjoying being back with Embot and Spencer, but I'm disappointed Doomslag has disappeared. We are in the Nowhere and we have run into a guide, Chet, who Spencer's paying him with bits of dust, which apparently stop you from losing your mind. The other way you can save your mind from being lost is hanging out in a big group of people. Not really sure why. I'm sure we'll learn more about it. I don't really like Chet. He's a bit annoying. I hope he's doesn't stick around for the whole book. There's something a little bit off about him. We've kind of learned that he's meant to be Embot's previous owner. I really don't buy that. I think because he has a scrap of material saying Commander Spears, which is Embot's previous pilot. I think he just ended up getting that token because I do believe Embot's previous pilot did end up in the Nowhere, and I really hope we get to meet him because that would be really cool. The other thing I didn't like so far was Jorgen and Spencer's relationship. So in Starsight, when they kissed before she ran off, I thought that was fine. It made sense. There was a possibility of never seeing each other again, and she mentioned they were probably moving faster than they really should have. But I don't like how she's saying at the start of this book how much she misses him and how she wanted to be held by him. It just didn't really ring true because for where they are at in their relationship, because there's so many other people such as Gran and Kimberlin and Rick who I think she should probably be missing a little bit more. But anyway, that's just me. Alright, I've just finished part 2 now. To be honest, I found it pretty boring. I really enjoyed Mbot learning about his emotions and the way he gets them to rank his jokes. That's like wonderful. At the moment, Spencer and Chet and Mbot are adventuring across the fragments. They are following the Elder Trail, where they watch like memories of past events, learning things about Delvers and Cytonics. One cool thing they do learn is about the Dions and their home planet, which doesn't have any predators on it, which I think is really cool when you think about it with our story. It makes a lot of sense how they are so against violence, and it's because they've never had to have it, and they've grown up in a world where it's just not a thing. So no wonder it's so terrifying to them. So that's a nice little tidbit. Also, I know this is going to sound contrary to what I just said before about not liking Spencer's and Jorgen's relationship. However, I'm really loving the interludes. I love the bit where they have the conversation about the dead orcs and the slugs. That was hilarious. Okay, part 3, where they are going to steal a ship from the pirates, which is Spencer is very excited about. Now I've finished part 3. Things have got a bit more interesting. Spencer is in with the pirates and she's teaching them to fly. I just really don't feel like I needed a book about Spencer doing flight school at Detritus, then a book about Spencer teaching flight school to the Superiority. I did love both of them, but now we've got Spencer helping the pirates with their flying. It's just a little bit too much. I might be being a bit harsh. It's only a very small amount of a book, but it's just a lot of repetition of the same thing. We get it. Spencer's a great pilot. Okay, so I'm now up to chapter 34, and I have a theory that the Delvers are AIs, or that the AIs became the Delvers in some way. That all those things that Mbot is programmed to stop him from doing are things that could lead him down the path of becoming a Delver. I'm still enjoying Mbot. He's great. I still don't like Chet. He's annoying. We have reconnected with Hisho, which I like him as a character. In fact, I loved him as a character. But in some ways, it's taken away some of the stakes. The stakes are already really low. We do not have destructors firing at ships. We just have, like, we shoot and the ship shuts down. And now we've taken away some of the stakes, not just from this book, but from the book previously, because Hisho is alive. I kind of, in a weird way, hope he dies for real in this book. I know that sounds horrible, but, you know, I've already mourned him. Anyway, now we've got our new crew, and they've taken over the base run by the Superiority, which is awesome. And the other thing that's happening is Spencer has been offered a deal by the Delvers, which I'm sure she won't take up, but she probably will be tempted to. All right, I have now finished the book. Doomslug to save the day. Woohoo. I did like the bit where we also hear about Jason Wright, who, if you've read the short story by Brandon Sanderson, Defending Elysium, he is the main character in that. And that is really cool to see the continual linkage. I've got a whole video about that, so go watch that. And there's links on there to where you can get that story for free. If you haven't, really recommend it. It's super short. Go do it. Anyway, we also found a lot out about Cytonics and Delvers, but to be honest, a lot of it kind of got muddled up in my head. I definitely need to do a reread before the final book to get it all sorted. And I'm sure some people will love all this world building about the Cytonics and the Delvers, but for whatever reason, I just don't care about it that much. I like the character development, I like the plot surrounding the politics with the Superiority, and world building is important, don't get me wrong, but an entire book almost, I feel like, which is like a side quest to do this world building, not so much. I think when I do reread it, I'll probably be less annoyed by Chet because now I know what that he is meant to be weird and what's going to happen in the future. And I also think the reread will be cool when you have an argument with Spencer and Mbot at the start, knowing the argument that happens at, well, not so much argument, but discussion that happens at the end. You can see Mbot's wonderful character development. The other thing I loved was the slugs, how they become the items. That was really cool. And I also liked how Peg had been the architect of the whole plan to make the fake breakout of her sons so they could train, so they could eventually take down the base. That's really cool. And I loved how like those fruits that she was constantly talking about growing were legit real fruit. That was super fun. And I wonder if that will come back into the final book with Spencer being given one of her fruits. I hope that it does. Anyway, despite my thoughts about this, I'm still super duper excited for both the next novella and the final book. In a weird way, I'm maybe even more excited, even though I didn't really enjoy this book as much, because we have gotten a lot of the boring stuff, in my opinion, out of the way in this book, and I'm ready for the rest of the story. Anywho, please let me know what you thought of this book in the comments below, and if you would have preferred, like me, the two novellas and this one combined into a big thick book, or actually, like, what if the two novellas were one book and this one was just like a much shorter novella? Because there's definitely some stuff, cough, cough, part 2 that you could have chopped out of this story. Anywho, let me know what you think and have a lovely day.